Today I have the pleasure to sit down with Ryan Mangan. Ryan is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, IBJJF world bronze medalist, European silver medalist, as well as Chaos Grappling 70 kilos and Grapple Kings 77 kg champion. Ryan, thanks for having me on today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me down.
How long have you been training?
I've been training about 14 years.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's been a while. I feel every year of it.
How old are you?
27.
27. Okay, so we're the same age. What was the reason for you to start training in the first place?
I think when I was maybe 10 or 11, I remember I was a big fan of WWE and wrestling growing up. So me and my brothers used to just roughhouse and stuff like that. And I remember my dad saying that there was a Brock Lesnar fight on when I was I think he fought Frank Mir at UFC 81, and he was like, have a look at this, and then I saw Frank Mir knee bar this behemoth of a man, and I was like, that's pretty cool.
Was there ever an element of wanting to learn how to fight to protect yourself, to take care of yourself, or was it simply just the curiosity of martial arts that got you into it?
Well, growing up I was always a lot smaller and skinny, so I remember my dad always kind of wanted me to do some form of martial arts. I was more into music. He wanted me to do boxing and stuff like that. But then I saw kind of jiu-jitsu, and it was a little bit of both, I'd say. I thought it was cool, the submissions and the holds, and how someone a lot lighter could manipulate and control someone who's a good bit heavier, and that's kind of sparked my my interest and my journey in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that's the thing with jiu-jitsu, isn't it? It doesn't matter how big or small you are, it's about how smart you are.
Yeah, it's very technical and nuanced martial arts.
Did you ever train anything else, or is jiu-jitsu the only form of martial arts?
I've done a little bit of boxing after jiu-jitsu. I did maybe 6 months, and I remember when we were moving gyms here, we were closed for 4 months, so I tried a bit of Muay Thai, and technically I had 2 amateur MMA league fights, but we probably won't bring that up.
It wasn't your cup of tea, was it?
Oh, it was good fun, but I didn't throw a single strike.
Right.
I just went straight for submissions. And I think I won one by armbar and one by arm triangle, but
okay.
I just never had the interest after that, to be honest.
Yeah, Muay Thai is it's a different game altogether. I feel like you have to be a different human in the first place to actually enjoy that sport and want to do it full time. I did it for a few years growing up, and I've done it here and there throughout the years, but every time I go back to it, I'm like, why did you go back to it?
It's a different intensity, really, in some ways,
Jiu-jitsu is not a linear progression, right? It's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of injuries, a lot of setbacks, especially as a competitor. You're never on this linear path. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with setbacks? How do you deal with losing to a guy that you might have dominated 6 months ago?
Yeah, I can definitely relate to this, because I recently did the Europeans for the first time at black belts.
Yep.
And I won my first match, and my second match, which would take me through to day 2, I went against a guy I bet only 3 or 4 months prior, and he bet me by referee's decision. So it's tough, but I feel with anything you get better with it over time. I remember first time doing the Europeans, and as a young lad, and being very discouraged when I lost. But now I'm kind of it could be your day one day, and then it's someone else's day the other day, But if you don't put yourself in the race, you'll never have a chance of winning.
Do you think that translates into life as well, that mindset?
Oh, definitely. I think I think it's NASA says don't fail, but fail forward. I think failure is your biggest kind of experience, and that's how you know when you need to change things. And you don't want to change everything, but you'll learn little lessons of things that you can modify and get better down the line, and that's what leads you to become, I think, a more evolved, better person and athlete.
What do you think is what do you think are the reasons why you might have an off day?
Oh, there's so many. Sometimes it's physical. I
think a lot of the times it's physical, right? Because as a professional athlete, there's always an injury of some sort. You're never 100%.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you need to accept that, though. But I always go back to my head, like a lot of the real, at least from my experience in like Irish Jiu-Jitsu, I know a lot of like old school guys who came up before me who achieved a lot of great things, and they'd like have like injuries the week of, or they'd be sick the week of, and they still like perform really well. So I think if you have the mindset that the physical injuries are going to affect you, they will. But if you don't, then you'll have more of a chance of like pushing through and still performing despite whatever setback you have.
It's about doing the thing that you have to do regardless of how you feel.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the biggest injury you have competed with, and how'd that go? One that you were like, fuck, I shouldn't be doing this, maybe. Did you ever have something like that?
It's hard to. Jiu-jitsu is a weird kind of sport because you can kind of adapt around a lot of injuries. But I do remember, what was it? My first time doing or medaling at the Europeans. I was in the quarterfinals, and I think I was up like 4-0, and the guy fell back. It was like 5 seconds left. He fell back on a steamer lock, and I popped my ankle. But like I just ate it because I knew like this is gonna be my first European medal if I just last these few seconds. And I was running around. I was fairly happy afterwards.
Adrenaline's
pretty
high.
Yeah. And then as I went to the semis and then the final, it started to like balloon up more. And then later that day, it was just like black and blue. I don't know what injury it was because I didn't get checked out, but I did like worlds like 2 or 3 weeks later. And I just kind of powered through. I remember I think I was down at Nick's place for like a seminar, and he's like, I assume you're not rolling today. I was like, I'll roll. You know,
there's always a different game you can play.
Yeah.
You know,
that's it. Yeah,
that's the thing with jiu-jitsu. What is the biggest lesson you've learned from jiu-jitsu which applies to life?
I suppose just you're not kind of stuck where you are. I feel like even just like coaching, this is kind of something I see with a lot of people sometimes. They feel like things are just completely out of their control. Like things are just the way they are. But throughout this journey, I feel like it's taught me you can easily change, not easily, but like if you're willing to put the work in, there's a lot of circumstances that you actually can change if you commit to it. And if you continuously kind of persevere and keep working at these things, you'll get to like where you want to be, I think.
Yeah.
Like it's a process. It's not like nothing's like, I think people want everything in 1 year.
Instantly.
You know? Yeah.
Everything takes work, and it's about consistency no matter what you do. Whether it's jiu-jitsu, your relationship, your whatever, your job, it takes that work day in, day out. Do you take any days off?
Yeah, sometimes I'll take like Sunday off from like rolling and training. Saturday,
it's Sunday as we're recording this right now. We're just after finishing a few rounds.
It is. Exceptions can be made sometimes. It depends on my mood.
What does that day look like for you? Do you prioritize recovery?
Yeah, recovery is big for me, but like recoveries throughout the week as well. I try to do, especially the last few years since I've kind of started to have some of my most successful years. I decided to kind of like commit to like whatever it takes kind of to recover, whether it be like saunas, cold plunges, compression boots, hyperbaric chambers, whatever I can use to help me get like, a little bit more recovery, I'm going to kind of take advantage of.
Yeah.
Even if it's financially atrocious for me.
Well, it's an investment into yourself.
Exactly. That's how I see it.
I always say that like if there's anything that's worth spending your money on, it's yourself.
100%. You only have one body.
Yeah, whether it's your physical, whether it's your nutrition, whether it's your mindset, like that's money you spend, but you're gaining something from it, and you'll thank yourself down the line, right?
Yes. What
does your nutrition look like?
My nutrition's pretty good. When I was younger, it probably wasn't as good, but these days I eat fairly good Monday to Friday, and the weekends I let myself like have a little bit of the kind of stuff that
you need that too, though.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I don't think if you eat like a little bit of bad food at the weekends, it makes too much of a difference. It'd be more if you're eating it throughout the week. It could sometimes affect your performance. Like I can't eat like chocolate and go train.
Right.
Me personally. Some things I can, but
everyone's individual. Yeah.
Personally, that just for some reason destroys me. I'll definitely have a bad session if I have like I don't know, dairy milk, and then go in and do a 2-hour rolling session.
Nick, on the other hand, he eats a whole bar of dark chocolate every single day.
I noticed, yeah.
And he's like, this is my recovery for me every single day,
Yeah.
and it works for him, you know.
Oh no, 100%.
That's the thing with nutrition, is it's so complicated because it's
Yeah.
so individual to each and every person. How has it changed for you, like, throughout the years? And you also mentioned earlier that in the last few years, those are the most successful of your career so far. What was that turning point?
Well, I've always been one, like, I've always liked the idea of, like, if, say, nothing changes, then nothing changes. So I'm always,
I love that quote.
yeah, I'm always trying to, like, add something different. For me, actually, it was like when we were going through, like, the lockdowns and all that kind of stuff. Going into that year, I thought that was going to be, like, my breakout competition year. But of course, a lot of things happened that, you know, made life, you know, a lot difficult for everyone.
Made life weird.
Yeah, very strange. But actually, it's funny. This is actually the mad thing about it. I was never big into, like, say, leg locks. They're something I'm kind of known for now. But over at the lockdown, I moved back home. I was living with my family, and my brother, who didn't even train, I was like, "Here, would you mind just once a day? I just want to drill these techniques on you." And he was like, "Okay, fine, whatever." Yeah, and I'd show him a few things as well. But when we started getting back to actual training and everything kind of lifted, I've noticed just solely deep diving and focusing on one thing had completely changed my game. People were expecting like one version of me, and then there was a completely different version. So I think that kind of helped a good bit. And adding in, like, I think I, like, moved up in weight class a little bit. I think that would suit me a bit better than cutting down. They were like the two main changes that I think led to the good run that I'm on now.
The magic you are looking for lies in the work you are avoiding.
Yes, I like that. I might steal that.
I don't know who said that, but I've found that myself, not only in sport, but like in everything. And hopefully one day I crack the reason behind it, but it's always the thing you're avoiding. It's always the thing you don't want to do, that when you finally say fuck it and you throw yourself into it and you give it your all, it ends up being the best thing you've ever done. And I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a subconscious thing of, like, a voice inside of you that's trying to stop you from achieving your potential, if it's fear or what it is. But I've learned to, like, acknowledge it and be like, okay, why am I scared of this? That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like sometimes even fear can be a great driver and motivator for you to, like, do things. Like, from my personal experience, I'd always look, say, when I was younger, and I'd have bad habits in training, and say, like, you know, some people just, like, sometimes they avoid things that are hard. Sometimes the fear of going, like, I really don't want 10 years to go by and me to be in the exact same position. The fear of that would always make me go, okay, whatever you don't want to do, let's do it, you know, type of thing. Even if it's a hard session, even if it's doing weights, which when I was younger I don't like, but my coach Miles always, like, preached how important weights were, and working on my wrestling and doing all these things that I don't want to do, working on the nutrition. If I do commit to doing them, I'll change for the better, you know.
Yeah, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards.
Yep.
There's no such thing as a constant in life.
No.
You recently went to Texas in America. How long? A month?
Month, yep.
Month. You spent your time there with B Team.
Yep.
What was that like?
Oh, it was unreal.
Expectation versus reality. Tell me about it.
Okay, so going in, I don't know, I'm always a bit nervous going to, like, different gyms. I don't know, maybe I just naturally kind of have, like, a bit of anxiety, but it's died down a little bit over the years. But going to a big team with, like, all these superstars and not knowing what they were going to be like was a bit daunting. But when I went over there, they were just so accommodating. They were so nice. Like, the first day, Nicky Rod, it was like an open mat, called me and Nick over, started asking us, where are you from, what belt are you, you know, just loads of different general questions, like, about training and life. And I was like, I really appreciate it, because, like, he just won like $1 million on CGI. Like, he didn't have to do that.
Life-changing money. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't have to do that, but he chose to do it, and it made us feel a lot more welcome. And all the guys were like that. They were all very sound. you know, Nikki, JB, Chris Wojcik, J Dog, J Rod, like
There is a huge
Declan.
there is a huge community, no matter where you go in the world. Like I've trained in, like I said earlier, different places, different countries, and often trained in places where there was not a single word of English or
Yes.
their language spoken between us. It was all either Google Translate or hand gestures, and it doesn't matter.
No, I don't think so.
Like jiu-jitsu itself is a language, it's a
Yeah.
form of art, and I feel like you can connect with that person. And I always say, like, it's the ultimate form of trust, right? Especially as a lower belt competing or fighting training with a higher belt. Like, the other person could kill you very easily.
Yes.
Like, you're putting your life in their hands and hoping that when I do
Yeah.
tap, the other person will let go. But the reality is they could not.
Well, of course, but they'd want to be.
But like, they'd have to be a psychopath.
Yeah,
But
pretty
like,
much.
that is like, I feel like when you spend 5 minutes with someone in that setting, it just kind of sets the tone for your relationship going forward. Did you feel like there was an element of certain people having to prove themselves and kind of set a standard for the gym they're representing when you went there and first rolled with them?
Um,
A bit of ego there.
I wouldn't say ego in that kind of way. Like when we first kind of started rolling there, like there's kind of the pro team, and then there's like maybe the more kind of casual team. So we kind of started kind of on the more kind of casual side, and everyone was just like sound. They were just happy to be there, part of the community. And then like after a while, like I think a lot of the guys on the pro team, some of them started asking us for rounds, and I feel like it's more like we wanted to like prove ourselves a little bit. Which
okay.
thankfully I think after the first week we started getting rounds with lots of the pros, which I think was really beneficial. Tough. It was very tough, I won't lie. But I enjoyed every minute of it.
Do you think you'll ever go back?
Oh, next year is definitely the plan to go back.
Yeah.
100%.
Is there a different team you'd like to spend time with?
No, I definitely want to go back to B team.
Okay.
But I feel like there are other gyms on my bucket list that I'd like to go. I'd love to go over to like Australia and train with like Lachlan Giles and stuff like that. I think that would be a very cool experience. I've been like, I feel like he has a similar style sometimes to me as well, so
Yes.
it might help. Maybe he'll have a few ideas.
It's really beneficial because it opens up your mind to a different perspective that you might have never seen. Like you said, you've been training for 14 years, and you might have been doing the same thing the same way because you've been under the same coach. And all of a sudden, you spend a month or a week or even one day with a different coach who's seen it from a different point of view, and you're like, why did I never see that?
Yeah, 100%. Like, and it wasn't just like one coach. We probably had 5 or 6 coaches over there, and we saw so many different perspectives and mindsets. Some were like NCAA wrestlers, so we had wrestling approaches. Some were like elite level leg lockers, so we got to learn like some interesting leg entanglements and new ideas. So it was and even like the passing over there is like really, I think it's cutting edge stuff. Some of the stuff that they're working on, in my opinion, anyway.
Did you think you'd be here when you first started?
No, definitely not. I didn't even like when I first started jiu-jitsu. I didn't know if I even had ambitions to like compete.
Right.
You know, I remember. So I was with years. I was training in like a Thai with Mick Aldridge. That was my kind of first coach, and he kind of like convinced me to do my first comp. Like I think it was like a Irish Open teen absolute, and I was like tiny at the time, like, and everyone else was huge.
Do you remember what you felt going into it?
So I'd like to say I was nervous, but like I remember arriving at the venue, and as soon as we got to the venue, I think it was the National Basketball Arena, and I needed to go to the bathroom. Like I was dying from the car ride up, and I heard my name, and I was sprinting to the bathroom. I was like, I have to get changed. So I was too I was too rushed to even like feel nervous.
To have the time to think
Yeah.
about it, right?
Yeah.
And how, like, what is your mindset going into each competition, each event now?
I suppose to be honest, I try not to think too much about the grand scheme stuff a lot of times when I'm competing. It's usually more one step at a time.
Okay.
Like it's a process. Like I go in, I do my mobility, I make sure I have a good warm up. I like to get a lot of my nerves out in the warm up if I do have a few, by going like hard, making sure my body's warm. And then after that, you know, it's embracing the challenge. Like, I know it's going to be tough. Like, I've like done it loads of times. I know to do the things I want to do, I'm going to have to push. I've have those expectations, so I'm never really shocked when it turns out to be hard.
But you never know. You never know what you'll.
I'm shocked when it's easy. Sometimes that happens. Is like,
Yeah, but you never know what you're going to encounter along the way, right? You know it's going to be difficult. You know it's going to be uncomfortable, but you don't know. You don't know the outcome. You're hoping for the outcome that you want.
Yeah.
But you don't know how long it's going to take. You don't know what's going to happen along the way. Very much like life, right? You just kind of have to go with the flow and like you said, one step at a time.
Exactly.
I think the misconception a lot of people have, and I've heard this before about UFC fighters, is that, like, yes, they are different kinds of human beings. Like, I think to be a professional fighter on that level, you have to be just born different. But people think they're not scared.
Oh yeah.
They're very
I'd
much
say
scared.
so.
I've heard a lot of fighters speak out about this, that they're absolutely terrified to step into that ring, but the minute you're in, you forget about everything. Do you have that as well? Like, the minute you step on the mat, like the noise just cancels out and you're very much present in that moment?
Oh, definitely. I think it just comes to like always putting like first things first. Like, when I step out on that mat, it's just like me and the opponent, and I'm focused on whatever to be honest, like when I'm competing, I don't really see them like as much as like another person. It's just like a kind of body I'm looking to like get under or like take them down, or kind of.
It's just an obstacle in your way.
Yeah, pretty much.
Interesting.
Like, it's because I feel like maybe some people are a lot more I don't know, good at multitasking and, you know, mentally acute than me, but I feel like I just need to focus. Like, I'm just one thing at a time, and hopefully over the course of the match I'll get to where I need to be to win it.
Where do you hope to where do you hope this takes you? What's your ultimate goal? And I'm sure there's probably more than one.
My ultimate goal, I suppose I'd like to probably win Worlds would be my main goal.
Which is December, right? Next month?
Yeah.
Vegas?
That would be my main goal. Long term, and I suppose technically short term.
Yeah.
Depending on how long it takes. But after that, I don't know too much after that. I feel like I'm really focused on just that one thing. I have other little goals, but like they're not like a priority. I think when you're trying to do something like that, you kind of have to have that your main priority at the moment, and everything else takes a little bit of a backseat.
You just sacrifice.
Yeah, that's it. You just kind of have to like hope that you can maintain all the other important areas of your life while you're pursuing that kind of.
Yeah. We spoke earlier about balance. Like, I don't think personally there is such thing. I think there's always gonna be. It's gonna be skewed one way or the other. Like, if you're focused on your career, your family might suffer. If you're focused on your family, your career might suffer, and it's very, very difficult to achieve like greatness in all of them. I spoke a few days ago with a guy, and he mentioned the 4 core pillars of life to him, which are his physical body or his health, his finances, his family, and fuck, I forgot what the last one was now. But he said it's very difficult for him to have them all dialed in. He said he feels like his finances are in order, his family is in order, but his health is the one thing he's struggled with, and he doesn't understand why he's able to focus and be so driven in other areas, but there's that one where he's lacking. Is that something you struggle with as well? Is there a part of your life that does not have that consistency and work ethic?
Oh, greatly.
What is that?
I'm like probably most things outside jiu-jitsu, I'd say.
Okay.
Like, I'm good at like committing to jiu-jitsu, but I'm sure like most of the other things are maybe a bit neglected.
What does your life look like outside of the mats? Or is there a life outside of the mats?
Sure. There is a life outside the mats. I'm not like I've never been like really outgoing or social for the most part, to be honest.
I can relate.
Yeah, I do go out from time to time, but mostly I like to study. I sometimes like to like go out and maybe go to the cinema or go for meals. I wouldn't be one for like drinking or like pubs and clubs. They're not really my thing personally, but like, you know, I know some people, of course, enjoy them, and it's a big part of Irish culture.
Yes.
But also, kind of when you're in my position, I don't think you can like do that much. Like it really does impact your training, which was nice when we were over in Texas, because I was like living with Nick for like a month, and we'd never like stayed anywhere together for competitions or training. And I was like, I wonder what he's going to be like. Is he going to want to like do that stuff? But we were very like similar minded, I thought. Yeah. Which I enjoyed, you know.
Nick is very much like that. Like it's just training, rest, training, rest.
Exactly. Yeah. He's like me, but he drinks more Monsters.
It's yeah, like you said, when you're focused on one thing, everything else has to take a backseat. Well, yeah, when you were living with him, like. It's a good way to get to know someone when you spend every single day with them, and if you can still be friends after that, I think you'll be alright. You'll get through anything.
Oh yeah, I think we actually bonded even more. I found out he is as despicable a human as me.
Yeah. Nick is an interesting character for sure.
He's a cool dude.
I wanted to ask you something I forgot now. You said you like to study.
Yeah.
What are you studying? Are you studying jiu-jitsu or are you studying something outside of that?
So yeah, it's probably mostly jiu-jitsu. Previously, when I was younger, though, I studied a lot of different things outside of it, like sports psychology.
Did you go to college?
I did actually. I was doing a master's in sports psychology for a while. Okay. But I dropped out because of jiu-jitsu.
I did 2 years of a sports science degree, and I dropped out after that as well.
You fellow man.
At the time, I was like, "Fuck, what am I after doing?" And then a few years later, I look back and I'm like, "That was the best decision."
No, I agree. I agree. I know when I was going through my masters, I was trying to like do it all a little bit. Like the studying, the training, had all these goals. But I thought when I cut back and like we kind of spoke earlier, you're always going to need to like limit aspects of your life to get somewhere in like your main prioritized aspect of your life, really. You know.
Do you think like learning about psychology has helped you in your journey?
For me, particularly in the sports psychology, it's really helped me. Because I feel like when I was like, say, younger, when I was, I don't know, maybe like 18 to like 22-ish, I feel like maybe nerves and stuff like that would hold me back. I didn't really like being in the spotlight, and you know, they do lots of shows in Ireland, and I never really want to be on them because I didn't want people like looking at me essentially. But like then I kind of, a lot of the sports psychology stuff it just gave me a framework of mindset to follow, and once I had that kind of to a certain point, it's like in anything, like diminishing returns. If I was like still studying sports psychology, it might get in the way, but I got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm good where I'm at. You understand mentally
enough.
Yeah, mentally I have enough to go, okay, I'm set there, let's work on the next thing that I need to prioritize.
It's, I think, very much overlooked, like the importance of understanding yourself, because everything begins in the mind. All of our problems, all of our childhood trauma, all of our strengths and weaknesses, they all start and end in the mind. Like that is the control center of everything. Like if you had met me a few years ago, you'd be like, this is a completely different person.
Really?
I would not have this conversation with you at all. Like I was very, very much introverted. And it's actually funny, like I've looked back on my life recently, and it went like it kind of went up and down. As a kid growing up, until about 10 years old, I was very much outgoing. I was like outgoing. I was a kid, but like I was like the center of attention. I had a lot of friends. I was very bubbly, and like I was a great kid in class, and everyone liked me. The teachers liked me. Played a lot of sports. And then when I was 10, I came to Ireland, and that completely changed. I got bullied in school, and because I couldn't speak English, the only thing I turned to was violence, was fighting. It was like, okay, well, I can't talk my way out of this. Let's punch my way out of this. Which didn't end well, because then I'd get in shit with the teachers, and then the teachers would be speaking to me. I'm like, I don't know what you're saying, and I can't explain myself. So I was always the bad guy. And what was the result of that? I went in on myself. All I did was go to school, come home, go into my room, and I wouldn't leave. Then at a certain age, I think I was about 12 or 13, I started boxing to be like, okay, well, if I'm gonna punch my way out of this, at least fucking make sure I do it properly and I can defend myself. And then after a few years, I started lifting weights and I started putting on size. I was a very scrawny kid growing up. When I was 17, I used to train. When I trained Muay Thai, I would fight, I think it was 67 kilos.
Serious?
Yeah, and now I'm 80, 84.
Nice. That's,
So I was very scrawny, and like
transformation.
when you put on the size and then people know you know how to fight, the bullying stops immediately.
Yeah.
Right? Which, if anyone is listening to this and is going through the same fucking thing, I encourage you to get in the gym, find some sort of a martial arts academy, whatever it is, try them all out, see what you like, and just learn how to take care of yourself, and a lot of your
agree.
problems will stop, and people will respect you more, right? And then, but still, I was very much in on myself. I didn't want to socialize. I didn't want to forget about speaking to girls, right? That's not happening. Didn't have a lot of friends growing up. And then I quit college and I started working and got very busy working a lot to make money and to do life. And then COVID happened. That makes you go in on yourself even more, right? It makes you even more isolated. And then I traveled. And when I traveled, I was forced into a lot of situations where I had to get out there. I had to speak to someone because I needed their help. And they didn't speak my language, which makes it even worse.
Yeah, of course.
And I think the more of that I did, because I was forced to do it, then eventually I was like, what was I scared of all this time? And I think the reason why I was scared was the perception that I was outgoing when I came here. I got bullied and made fun of, and I correlated one with the other, even though they had nothing to do with each other. So then I was like, right, I'll just shut my mouth. I won't say anything.
Yeah.
And then that keeps you in fear and that keeps you closed off. But if you can just muster the courage to step outside of it and put yourself out there, you'll learn very quickly, like, oh, there's nothing to be afraid of.
Exactly.
People are actually quite nice.
Oh, no, 100%, yeah. And I think in Ireland there is like a kind of kids kind of, they sometimes like to, because I was bullied a little bit growing up, they like to kind of bully what they don't know, you know. They're always, it's the fear of the unknown. I don't know.
Yes.
If they don't really know you, or maybe you talk a bit different and stuff like that. Like I grew up in like a small town, and like anything different gets made fun of. It's just weird.
Kids are ruthless as well.
They can
There's
be.
no filter.
Yeah. So like if you don't fit in with them, they can be like really awful sometimes, unfortunately. But what you're saying about, like, I definitely think martial arts is a good way to take control of your life and yourself. Kind of like, because I know from my perspective, when I started doing jiu-jitsu and I was like a teenager, and you'd be training with, like, sometimes back then there was no kids class or teens class, it was just always training with fully grown men, and you're like, okay, I can handle these guys a little bit if I learn this and I learn that. It gives you a sense of confidence and control, where like, okay, I'm not just helpless, you know, I can kind of, you know, I can do these things.
Well, it was the norm, you know, hundreds or even thousands of years ago, right? As a kid, there was a certain age where you were given a sword or a stick, and you were expected to learn how to fight. Probably, I don't know what the age is. I'm not great at history, but like at the age of 14, maybe 15, you're already going out to battle.
Oh yeah,
against grown men, against Vikings, and like either you get on with it and you try and survive, or you die.
That's it.
It was as simple as that. And like in modern society, we've lost that. Like men have become soft and weak because it's I wouldn't say it's acceptable, but it's possible. Like you can get by and you can do life without being physically capable, and nothing's gonna happen to you.
No, that's true. That's why I definitely think for like self-growth and self-development, you kind of need to make yourself do hard things from time to time. You can't always have like it easy and just always choose the easy choice. You need to put yourself through a little bit of like hardship, you know. Otherwise, like when the hard things that are inevitable in life do happen, like you won't be able to cope.
If you give a man comfort and peace, he's going to become lazy and weak.
Yeah.
If you give him, a purpose, an obstacle, and a means of achieving it, he'll crawl through broken glass with a smile on his face.
Yes. I like that.
You mentioned earlier about the drinking culture in Ireland. I think that's changing. I think
it is.
I've seen it. I've seen it over the last couple of years, kind of take a backseat, because I think people are starting to realize, like, okay, what you said earlier, if nothing changes, nothing changes. Like, I'm going out every single weekend, I'm getting smashed with my mates. My life's not going anywhere. I'm broke because I'm spending all the money that I make on drink and going out, and then I hate my life on Monday morning. By the time Friday comes around, I'm like, okay, now time to reward myself, go get drunk again, and it's just like this vicious cycle. It doesn't get you anywhere.
Living for the weekend, you know.
Yeah, and I think what's replacing drinking is the coffee culture.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are like, instead of going out for drinks, or especially if it's your first date with a girl, it's like, let's grab a coffee instead.
Yeah. And I like, not that I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with drinking, but when like you're doing it like every weekend all the time, and as you say, you're depleting your wallet, you're depleting your health. Say if it was a video game, you had a health bar, you know,
it's going down.
It's going down, you know. Then like, yeah, and if you're like, you feel like in your life you don't have like purpose and stuff like that, you're just doing this because you want to feel like something. I think then that's when it's a little bit of a kind of issue.
Yeah.
But it is nice to have those like coffee dates, or sometimes I'll meet up with my brothers or family members for like lunch, and we'll just hang out. We don't have to like get smashed to like hang out these days.
I have a very obsessive personality.
Me too.
Like I told you earlier, if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it properly. And I think I've learned to like almost stay away from certain things, because I know what's gonna happen if I put myself into it. Like there's certain things I don't want to start, because I know I'm gonna start them, probably gonna like them, get curious about it, and then that's my life over for the next 6 months. Right?
Yeah,
That's all I'm gonna do.
Yeah. I remember when I was younger, like all my relatives, they'd always be like to me, "Oh, just never drink, never smoke, never do anything like that." And like all my mates, same thing. Like the older generation would always warn you of maybe their mistakes, but I feel like I was just always very okay, whereas they were like, no, rebellious, you know.
I started, well, I wouldn't say I started drinking, like, but I mean, I could probably, the amount of times I've been out in my life is maybe between 10 and 15. Right, and that was in the space of just a few years. I didn't have my first drink until I was 18. And then I might have drank a few times between then and when I went to college. And then when I went to college, I went out maybe every few weeks. And the thing that I knew back then already was like, why am I doing this? I'm not actually enjoying this.
Yeah.
And there was a different person that came out every time I drank. Like it was I didn't like who I would become. And it was almost like my ego would get flared up, and I would become even more confident, which is something I don't need in my life. I need something to like bring me down and ground me.
Yes.
And the next day I'd always be like, you fucking, why are you doing this? And I think it was like trying to fit in, because I was almost very much different than the norm, and it was hard for me to find like-minded people. So I was like, okay, let me go out and do what everyone else is doing.
Yes.
Which now I've learned, like, I'd rather be alone and be lonely than do the thing I don't want to do just for the sake of doing it. Right? But there was a moment, I remember, it was almost 6 years ago. It was January 17th, 2019, I think. I went out, and it was a night I'll never forget. Like, I did everything under the sun that night. I probably shouldn't be alive right now. And I remember walking home at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, that's it.
Done.
That's it. I'm never doing that shit again. And ever since then, like, I think for the first 5 years after that, I didn't touch drink at all, because I knew what would happen if I did. Right? And someone asked me yesterday, actually, like, what was that like? Was it hard? And I was like, no, you just don't go out. Don't tempt yourself.
Yep.
Right? Don't go to the McDonald's drive-thru if you don't intend on getting a burger, because if you want to go just for the sake of smelling it and then drive off, what's the point of doing that?
Oh yeah.
Right? But thankfully, like, I've reached a point now where I have a much healthier relationship with drink, and like I can have one glass of whiskey for Christmas and I'm okay.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's not obsessive anymore. Is there something in your life that is there a habit in your life that you wish wasn't there or that you could resolve that is a bad habit as such?
I'm sure I have loads, to be honest. I'm trying to think at the moment what would be the habit that I really don't like. I suppose a lot of my like normal day-to-day life stuff, I tend to procrastinate a lot.
Okay.
Whether it be chores and, you know, I think because like I feel like a lot of times I wake up and I know what I'm doing, know my purpose, that when I'm doing the stuff outside of my purpose, I'm like a bit kind of slow with it, or I'd always prioritize jiu-jitsu and martial arts over like
Everything else.
everything, which it's not a bad thing in some ways, but in other ways it can like affect my day-to-day life and give myself a much harder time than I should have navigating through all the kind of maybe mundane stuff of life.
Take me through your day. What does that look like?
Okay, so I probably I don't have much of a morning routine, but I'll wake up. Over the summer I was doing like a cold plunge and stuff like that. I'd wake up, do that, just to get me going. I'd do a few stretches, stuff like that. I'd head to the gym. I'll usually train at 11:30. I teach a lot of those classes. I might do a few privates. In the afternoon, I'd go back to the house. If I can, I've been trying to, like if I have the time, get a nap in to recover. But I feel like over the years, my mind's got a bit more like hectic with other things to do. So napping is like difficult, but I do think it's very important to recover.
Very beneficial.
Yeah, especially if you're doing like 2 or 3 sessions like a day. So after that, I'd go back in for the evening sessions. I'd be training, teaching classes, depending on the day, of course. I make sure I just stretch after every session. I think that's one of my non-negotiables. I try to instill in all the guys, make sure you stretch. It's
Very
so
important, yeah.
Because when I was younger, all the the older lads in the classes would be like, make sure they'd never stretch themselves, but like, make sure you stretch, make sure you stretch.
Well, it's not fun, it's boring.
It's so boring.
Boring, but like it prevents injuries, it elevates your game in jiu-jitsu, for me, like it just makes you feel better.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I remember when I was like, because I feel like some people like to harp on about like age and getting older. I know I'm young, but like when I was like 20 and say I stopped stretching for 2 months, I would feel stiff, like really stiff. Whereas now, like at like 27, like I stretch every day and I just feel really flexible. If I went like 2 weeks without stretching, I'd probably feel awful. But if you keep a good habit, like I think it'll take you through for like life. It's the same with like weights. Like if you are running, if you keep doing that into your later years, you'll still be able to do it to a good degree, you know. Of course everything probably slows down as you get like a bit older, but like it's easier to maintain something than like to attain it, you know, at like a later stage.
That's a good one. Yeah, you get away with a lot of shit when you're younger.
100%, yeah.
Even like I go into the gym, like, and I see teenagers these days. I'm like, okay, first of all, what are you eating? Like, what like no one in that age group was that strong 10 years ago. Like, what the fuck are kids eating these days?
Yeah. I don't know. I suppose they probably have a bit more information than...
That's a good one.
They might have a bit more information than we did.
There's no better time to be alive than right now. Like, you have all of the knowledge that you require for whatever sport you're in at the click of your fingers.
Yeah. Yeah, and as a kind of bit of a nerd myself, I feel like that's very appealing. I like doing my research and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like I mean, there's back then it was the beginning days of the internet, so a lot of the things weren't even available. It was like going back even further, like all you had was books.
Yes.
And even then, a lot of information didn't exist still. And then Google came around. And now with AI and ChatGPT, you can literally just be like, give me a 5-day workout split. Boom.
That's true, yeah. Oh, 100%.
Takes the thinking out of it, right?
Yeah.
Give me the most optimal fucking workout routine to increase my squat in the next 3 months.
Yeah.
Boom. Done.
Yeah, it's mad when you think about it. I do like the idea of having like a bit of independence ourselves.
Yeah.
Though, as far as like the chat GPT and all that,
Takes your creativity and yourself out of it.
yeah, you know, I like that kind of designing a little bit my program, or like consulting with, like, I have a really good like strength and conditioning coach, Killian Doyle, who I consult with from time to time, and he helps me a lot with a lot of my stuff. And I like bouncing things, like he'll give me programs and I'd always be like asking questions and stuff like that, and he's such a like resource of knowledge. I'd be like, oh, what about this, you know.
Well, it's a very much individual, like nutrition, like we said earlier. You have to try what works for you and what doesn't.
Exactly, yeah.
What amount of volume works for you versus what doesn't.
And that's a big one, I think, for strength and conditioning and for jiu-jitsu. Like, you can't always, even if you might have role models who like train lots of sessions and train really hard, sometimes that's not attainable for you. You need to find what is your kind of nice sweet spot. yeah, where you can like recover in between.
Yeah, speaking from experience here, I like in the last 10 years, ever since I started kind of prioritizing strength training on top of everything else, it was like my back, for example, would never develop no matter what exercises I did. No matter how much fucking bent over rows, pull downs, no matter what I did, my back would never grow in comparison to everything else. Like, for example, my legs would always be my strong point. And the one thing I never did was pull-ups. I fucking hated pull-ups. Could never get good at them. And then this year, in the beginning of this year, I was like, right, we're going to get into pull-ups.
Yeah.
The beginning was very humbling. You're like, shit, really? I can only do like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But I made a conscious effort to do as many as I could every day. And in the last few weeks and months, I've gotten to the point where I was doing so many of them that I've now fucked up my shoulders and I can't do any anymore. So it goes back to what we said earlier. Like, I get obsessed about things, and now I'm like, okay, lesson learned. What is my optimal range, and how many times a week, and how many sets should I be doing to not fuck myself up? But ChatGPT is not going to tell you that.
No, of course. You have to feel that yourself.
What advice would you give to anyone in their late teens starting jiu-jitsu or wanting to try it?
Okay, so...
Or adults also, like...
Yeah, I just feel like for me, what's always helped me is just don't go into it with like massive expectations, and like I feel like, because I've been like coaching, I don't know, 8 years now, to say a long time anyway, and I see like a lot of people come in and they're like, I want to do this and that, and I have all these goals, but I'm like, just kind of show up, do a couple of sessions a week, see how you go, and then like it depends if they just want to train, if they're looking to compete, then like after, I don't know, 6 months to a year, you can start to like focus on one or the other. But I just think like, yeah, just don't have massive expectations. Just like enjoy the process, come in with an open mind, try not to be very strict and like in your thinking of what it is, because when you go in, it's a bit weird. It's different than what a lot of people. In America, they have like wrestling, like high school wrestling, so like they're used to like the grappling, but like Irish people, it's completely foreign sometimes.
Yeah,
to them, you know?
we're used to boxing.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, should I be hitting them here? No, please don't.
And everyone does it for a different reason.
Yeah.
Like, some people get into it to compete, some people get into it for the fitness of it.
Yeah.
Which, fuck me, there's nothing better than that. Like,
oh yeah.
If you think you're fit, come in for a class. You'll see how
It's
unfit
tough.
you are. Some people do it for the community aspect of it. They
Yeah.
just want to come in because it's very much a big family of like-minded people from all walks of life.
Yes.
Which means you get to meet a lot of cool people also, and make connections and friends from different walks of life that you would have never encountered otherwise.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably one of the best things you can, if you're like a young person and I'd say this probably applies more like, you know, as you become an adult, it's harder to find friends and make friends. I would definitely recommend it as someone who just wants to join a community, make a few friends, get fit, and learn a bit of martial arts and how to defend yourself. Like, it's perfect for that. And you don't have to like be hurting, like breaking yourself up and damaging your body. Like, I wouldn't say everyone should go into like, say, MMA for the same reasons, you know.
Yes.
If you want a community, I'd say do jiu-jitsu. But like, yeah, if you want to like fight and
break bones.
yeah, then maybe consider
you might have
MMA.
some deeper demons inside
Yeah,
of you,
exactly.
if that's the case.
Jiu-jitsu's not maybe for that.
Yeah, we said it's a gentle art, but like, disclaimer, injuries do happen.
Yeah.
And think at the end of the day you are, you know, putting your body out there.
Yeah.
But it's, I think out of all the martial arts, it's the most gentle that there is, and I think it's the most fun. It does wear and tear on your body, like if you do it a lot, if you do it 5-6 times a week,
Yes.
you're gonna feel it, especially with life on top of that in the background as well. But like, for me, it's one of the few things that I can do in my life that allows me to switch my brain off.
That is the nice thing about it, you know, to go in there and just focus. I think that's what appeals to me as well. Like I said, I'm very like driven and just one track mind sometimes. So like going in jiu-jitsu and I just have to focus on hitting this sweep or like going for this submission that I'm working on. It's just like, you know, you don't have to like, whatever problems you have outside the mat, they don't matter during the hour and a half you're in the academy, you know.
You're very much present. Like, the only thing that matters is the here and the now.
Exactly. And I remember going back when I was kind of studying, doing the like say I was doing the masters in sports psychology for a while. My biggest thing that I see people do this all the time when they're studying. They're like, I said I'm gonna stop jiu-jitsu for a few weeks and I'm gonna just focus on my studying. And it was probably the worst. It's probably the reason that I probably didn't make it, because I felt like I was developing bad habits by just studying all the time and not having a release, not having something that like when you exercise you get all the good endorphins. I think there's even studies that show like either pre or post like cardio training your memory is better and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, and that's so true. But when I was like say 2 weeks or 3 weeks just studying no jiu-jitsu, sure, I was getting slow, I was getting brain fog, I was then eating bad food, and then I started going I don't know if this is for me really. You know, if I was to do it again, I'd probably say save an hour or 2 hours a week just to like do a bit of physical activity. I think it'll go a long way in like studying and helping you.
I think there's a line though. There is a point where you cross over to the other side, and you're like, for example, if I do 2 hours of rolling on a Saturday, forget it. That's Saturday finished. Like I'm brain dead.
Yeah.
But if you do 45 minutes on the Stairmaster, for example, which is like low intensity, but it gets the sweat going, it gets your heart rate going, it allows you to do something uncomfortable. I've noticed, like, I would come home from that, I start cleaning my fucking house, I start writing, I start doing this, I do a meal prep. I'm like, holy shit, well, look, where's all this energy coming from?
That's it, yeah. Sometimes you have to like give energy to get energy a little bit, I think.
I think a lot of people mistake laziness for unhappiness. I think very often we feel like we're lazy, we feel like we don't want to do X, Y, and Z, but it's not because we're tired, it's because we're understimulated. And our body's genuinely unhappy because you're eating shit food, you're not exercising, you're probably smoking, drinking, you're not surrounding yourself with people that bring you up. Probably you're surrounding yourself with people that tear you down instead.
Yeah.
And the result of that is you feel shit, you feel lazy, you feel lethargic, you have brain fog. And then what scares me is like the idea that most people go through life thinking that that's life.
I know. Oh, it is mad. For someone who has like briefly done that, I feel like when you kind of break out of something like that, you feel like life is like there's a whole new meaning to life.
There's a different level.
Yeah, it's insane, and you don't know you're in that until you actually get out of it and you start treating your body better. You start exercising, like just not doing the things that are destructive to your body.
How have you seen the scene change in Ireland since you've started?
Okay, so I suppose when I first started competing, say doing like the Irish Open and all that, it was a very small event. Like I said, I was earlier, I think my first like division was like a teen absolute of like 4 people or something like that, complete white belt, you know. Whereas now, like, geez, we have events that sometimes have like over 1,000 competitors, like, and like Grappling Industries and stuff like that. We'd have like a lot of mass. I think the main changing point though was, I think it was like 2015 Irish Open. So UFC Dublin with McGregor had happened the year prior, and then it exploded after that. you know.
I think he was a driving force for martial arts in Ireland.
Oh, it got so big after McGregor started to really rise up through the rankings. I remember particularly because I was like, why is the Irish Open so big this year? And like, I suppose the UFC Dublin was so popular martial arts wise, you know. And yeah, like it did a lot for the scene as a whole.
I want to ask you about women and jiu-jitsu. Have you seen an increase in your numbers the last few years? Because to be honest, the reason why I got into jiu-jitsu is because like it's something I was always curious about, but I never felt the need to do it because like I knew how to fight. I knew I was capable with striking and everything like that. So I was like, that's enough for me. But before I went traveling, back when with my ex, I kind of wanted her to learn how to take care of herself, especially because she was a smaller girl. I was like, look, we're going out into the world, into the unknown. Yes, I'm gonna be with you most of the time, but like I'd rather, just for the sake of it, for you to learn self-defense, just for the peace of mind. And I remember walking past the Gory Grappling Academy and looking in through the window and seeing everyone like rolling around, gasping for air, with big smiles on their face, hugging. I was like, this looks fun. And I got into it and instantly fell in love with it. But there wasn't many women in it. Do you feel like there's a fear there? There's a objection against starting?
I think it's probably just a bit maybe tougher for women because, as like kind of said earlier, like guys growing up, you wrestle a little bit, you do a bit of roughhouse, and you know, whether it be your brothers or your mates. Maybe it's not like women don't do that as much. Like growing up, it's maybe not like a thing. So the kind of physical contact can be tough barrier to break through sometimes. Like I've definitely kind of taught like brand new women, and like they be trying to do the techniques without like touching each other a little bit. So like, and I'd have to go, oh, that's not going to work, you know. But in here, like in Myalo, we have a great women's team, and our numbers are probably the best they've ever been. Really, we have lots of new girls. We have some blue belts. My girlfriend coaches the women's here, and yeah, it's like it's really grown. But I think that's just like, as the longer jiu-jitsu is in an area and people are exposed to it, the more good reviews come by, the more people go like, oh yeah, I did that. The guys are really nice in there. But that's why I think the onus is on like all academies to be like as friendly as they can, as accommodating as they can, because they're the things that really count, like of getting people in. People aren't going to like join Myalo because like, say Miles was like Bellator fighter and all that, or like if it's jiu-jitsu, they're like Ryan did this or whatever they've accomplished. They don't really care for that. They just want a community, and they want people to like, you know, hang out with and like have the crack with, you know.
I think the biggest fear, and I think the biggest misconception people have about anyone who does martial arts or fights, is that we are brutal.
Yes.
Which I think is so not true. I think people that train martial arts of any sort are the nicest people you'll ever meet in your life.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I think you look at a guy and he's got like cauliflower ear and he's got cuts and bruises, and you're like, Jesus. But fuck me, the reality is, yes, he is capable of violence, which for a man especially is super important. But he has also learned to control it, and he has learned himself. He has learned to respect other people, because doesn't matter what you know and how long you've been training, there's always someone bigger and better.
Oh, 100%.
And you'll always get the shit kicked out of you.
Yeah.
And like the other thing is, like, for example, like you came in here on a Sunday morning, you get the shit kicked out of you, you kick the shit out of some other people maybe. You go home or you leave this place, you don't want to do more of that.
Of course, yeah.
Like, you go on the streets, the only people looking for a fight are the ones who don't want to fight. Like, I've often said after training, like, fuck, I really hope I don't have to fight out there now, because I don't have the energy for it.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%.
You know, so like, I encourage anyone who, and I wish this wasn't the case, but unfortunately in this day and age, women are kind of, I wouldn't say required, but it is a smart move to at least learn the basics. Learn a few moves that, God forbid, if the situation was to occur, you could have an idea of how to get out of it. right? What's your man's name that does these video analysis on YouTube?
Is it less impressed, more involved?
No, it's one of the Gracies.
The Gracie breakdown, Henry Gracie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like he analyzes assault videos and attacks,
yes,
and he's
yeah.
like, "Oh my god! Like if you just knew how to do this one thing, that would have
Yeah.
never happened."
Yeah, that's true. I think it's so important just to like have a basic understanding of like even if it wasn't for you, if you did like 6 months, like it might be the difference between getting out of like.
Could be life and death.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
Yeah, I think people overestimate how much work is required. It's not that difficult and it's not that complicated.
Yeah. Because I feel like the misconception is beat people up. Train martial arts, beat people up, but it's just survive. Like in like those scenarios, if you're potentially like attacked by a dangerous person and you get out relatively unscathed
And run away.
yeah, that's a win. That like you don't need to like beat them up or make them pay as long as you like are in good health after the like that happening. Like that's all that really matters, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I wish that wasn't the case, but like try it out.
Yeah.
Try it out. You might like it. It might be your new favorite hobby. You might meet someone that you really get on with, and you'll develop a new circle of friends.
That's true. Yeah, and I think we're getting there though. Like I definitely think we're slowly kind of breaking. Like jiu-jitsu is getting more and more popular. We're slowly breaking down the apprehension to like this type of martial arts.
Do you think the CJI has anything to do with that going forward?
I definitely think CGI is going to be very important for bringing jiu-jitsu into the mainstream because it's cool because like they have like the best grapplers in the world, like, but also it's run as like a spectacle. It's an event.
Huge money prize on the line.
They have like these like Fujiman, Hanato Laranja, you know, the kind of presenter guy. He's kind of a bit of a parody of maybe like some old.
It's a show, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. There's a bit of humor to it. You have the kind of freak matches a little bit with Gabby and Craig.
Yeah,
you know, that's kind of what people want to see sometimes. And I like ADCC. I like even watching IBJJF matches. Like they're all entertaining to me, but like
to you, yeah. But the general public, they're very much boring.
Exactly.
And they don't understand like why did he get 3 points
Yeah.
or why did they get 4 points? Why did he lose? And you're like,
yeah,
people prefer to watch someone box in a ring and get knocked out.
exactly, yeah. So you have to take a different approach sometimes with jiu-jitsu because people don't know it yet. It's not as it's becoming like kind of mainstream, but like we're still a bit away from that. But if you make it expectable, like I could only imagine like some random people who showed up to like CGI and go like, oh, this is actually kind of cool. Like I don't know what's happening, but it's kind of entertaining, you know. Like this Craig Jones guy is really interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, he's a character.
he is a character.
I think the money helps as well. I
Yeah.
think the second you put $1 million on the line,
Yeah, high stakes.
changes a lot of things. Like for example, you know, in a IBJJF or an ADCC, fair enough. Maybe if you're in the final, you might have the same approach. But like in the beginning, if you're stuck in an armbar and you know you're not getting out of it, you're gonna tap because you don't want to break your arm.
Of course.
I feel like if you're in the final of the CJI and there's $1 million on the line, you're not tapping.
Oh yeah.
Like that's worth breaking an
Yeah.
arm for.
It
in
has
my
to be
opinion.
cheaper to get fixed. Maybe not in America, but
Yeah, you can take a flight back home.
yeah, go
and-
back to Ireland then get it fixed.
Is that invitational only? Is it?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
What is the like? Tell me, what is the requirement for one to get into that? Is it very much? Because I feel like it's not just how good you are at jiu-jitsu. I feel like there's a bit of element.
Markability.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
What is your social media presence
Yeah.
like? What can you bring to the event?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think it is a bit of everything. Like, don't get me wrong, they had a lot of the best grapplers, but they also had some guys who were just throwing it, like Luke Rockhold. He obviously would have sold a lot of tickets, I'd say, and throwing in some of the wrestlers who have a bit of a name. You know, it's kind of. I wish I actually knew the actual requirements. But
Maybe there isn't any because the way it's ran, it's
put
very
butts
much
in
wild.
seats, maybe.
Do you see yourself in something like that in the future?
Well, if I was offered, I would definitely take it.
Yeah?
100%. Yeah.
When does your camp start for the Worlds, or has it started already?
Yeah, it started now. Kind of had a few, or like maybe like a week deload after Euros and all that, and basically been training, amping up the training like slowly. I don't like to like jump straight into like training just super hard, because I think that's an easy way to get injured. You slowly like go up and up and up, allow your body to like adapt to the volume you're adding, and then like taper down when I think we're like about 5 weeks out now, so
Okay.
a few weeks, maybe like a week and a half closer, start to taper. 2 weeks start to taper a bit, so the next few weeks will be like really hard.
What's your plan for after the Worlds? You gonna take the foot off the gas for the
Vegas,
rest of
baby. No, well, we'll be in Vegas for a few days, so we'll have a bit of fun over there.
Absolutely.
I'm not really big into partying, as I said, or even gambling, but last week I managed to beat Vegas by like winning a few hands of blackjack.
Okay.
And then leaving it there.
Yeah, it's important to know when to walk away,
Yeah.
right?
I was like, do you know what? For the crack, I'll give it a go. And I think I won 100 quid, and I was like, that'll do me. I don't have a personality where I'm just gonna go like, oh, more. you know?
Yeah. Thankfully, like,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm very lucky and blessed in the sense that I've never been addicted to anything bad as such, right? Like I said, drink was briefly there, but never really a thing. Never smoked, never got into like drugs or gambling. I got into gambling for a few weeks this year, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think it all started with Alex Pereira versus...
Betting on the fights.
Yeah, I think it was him versus Prohashka, and I think I put 100 quid on him to win via knockout.
Yeah.
And he did. And I was like, nice.
That's
free money.
dangerous now, yeah.
Free money.
Yeah.
Then I bet on another fight and I won again. I was like, right, I'm smart. I got this. And then it was the Euro finals. It was Spain versus England.
Yeah.
I put money on that. I don't want to say how much, but it was a significant amount, more than I would like to admit. And I won, and I was like, fuck yeah. The funny thing is, I had a feeling that it was going to be 2-1 to Spain, but I wasn't feeling confident enough to take that risk. Fun fact, if I had put my money that I put on Spain to win, but being exactly 2-1, I'd have won, I think, 15 grand.
What?
Yeah. But anyway, I said, fuck, okay, at least I'm up.
Yeah.
And then the next day, Argentina was playing versus Chile in the South American Cup. And I put all of the money that I won from the night before for Argentina to win, which they did. But apparently, whatever way I did it, because I'm stupid and I don't know how to gamble, they won in overtime, not in the regular time.
So that doesn't count.
So it doesn't count.
What?
So I lost all my money, and then I was like, right, that's it, call it off.
You're better off, because I don't think you ever win in the end.
No, and like I've one of my really good friends from Albania. He has a really bad gambling addiction, and he's aware of it. And he's like, yeah, I have a problem, and I'm like, bro, but why? Like, you know you're gonna lose, and he was like, I can't help it.
Yeah, and I find like when you talk to people who really like to gamble, it's always what they've won. But I'd always be like a bit inquisitive. I was like, so how much like surplus do you have now? And it's like, oh, I'm like 4 grand in the hole, or whatever you want to say, you know.
So you lost, you didn't win.
You didn't really win.
But I won last week, and you're like, that's just delusion. I think it's a mental illness in a sense.
Oh, I'd say so. It's probably one of the, in some ways, the more dangerous. Well, like as far as like you can really put yourself in a bad spot if you have a bad gambling addiction.
Oh yeah, like you can fucking throw your life in the bin overnight.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the Father Ted episode with the Billy O'Dwyer, the Spin Master, and they're buying the lotto tickets, and your man's like, oh no, gambling ruined me father and me grandfather. I'm gonna pay to their name. It won't happen to me. And he's like, oh, it's just for charity, Billy. He's like, how much should I put you down for? It's like, okay, 2,000. It's like one of those type things.
I think it goes back to instant gratification. People think there's an easy way out.
Yes.
People think that you can win in life like that overnight. I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
On occasion.
Like, I do know one guy.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to meet him and spend some time with him. He is in his late 50s. He's a Portuguese guy. He lives in Lisbon. Regular dude. You know, all his life he worked in construction, and every single week he would play the same numbers. And people would ask him like, why? And why these numbers? And he said, I don't know. I just have a fucking feeling one day I'm gonna win. And in his early 50s, a few years ago, he got a phone call, and they were like, yeah, you've won.
Yeah.
And he was like, won what? And they're like, well, you've won the lotto. And he was like, yeah, right. And he hung up. And they called him back, and they were like, no, sir, like, you've actually won. Like, can you come into the office, and we need to check your ticket? And he was like, yeah, right, funny. He hangs up again. And they ring him for the third time, and they were like, come in to fuck, because you've actually won.
Wow.
And he was like, what is this joke?
Yeah.
He went in, and they checked his ticket, and the lady says, yep, you've won. And he like snatches the ticket back off her, and he's like, holy shit, I've won. And he rang his best friend, and he was like, you won't believe it. Like, I told you I'd win. I did it. So then his best friend thought he was joking.
Yeah.
No one would believe him until the day when like he bought like a huge villa on the outskirts of Lisbon. He has like 5 Porsches for every day of the week.
Oh my god.
He stopped drinking, stopped smoking. He's gotten a personal trainer so he can be healthier and live longer now, because now he wants to live.
Fair play.
Like, so it does happen, but like again, that took 30 odd years,
and
right?
For every story like that, there's a bunch of people that I know that have been playing the same numbers all their life.
Never won.
Never.
Yeah, like, and we talked earlier, the best investment you can make is in yourself.
Exactly.
Because the amount of money you'll have spent on lotto tickets or gambling or betting accumulated over 10, 15 years, if you put that same amount of money in yourself, into learning new skills, into becoming healthier, into upskilling yourself and getting a better job or a different job or starting your business or elevating your mind, guess what? You're going to make that money that you hope to win.
Yeah.
Right? And like, you're going to spend that money anyway, might as well spend it on yourself and get something out of it. People aren't willing to wait. And like, for you, like, you've been on your journey for over, 14 years?
Yeah, 14 years, yeah.
And you're still on that path. You're still on that goal to be a world champion. And it's like, if you were to say that to anyone, that something they want to achieve will take 14, 15, 20 years, they're like, well, fuck that.
Yeah, it's a big commitment. But I think all things that are worthwhile take time.
I have a question for you, because this is something I struggled with all my life. I've chased something, always. It doesn't matter what it was. There was always this grand goal, and the second I would achieve it, I'd be like, okay, next.
Yes.
Put that behind myself. Next.
Yeah.
I'd never enjoy what I did, and I never enjoyed the process. It always felt like work, and it always felt like I had to do it. And I'm glad I did. If I could go back in time, I wouldn't change it. It's gotten to me where I am today. But I think with a lot of fighters or professional athletes, there's this grand goal, for example, to medal in the Olympics. And then that day comes.
Yes.
And you get that gold medal put around your neck, and now you're like, okay, now what?
Yeah, now what? Yeah.
Like, that's all my life has been. Now I'm here. What do I do with my life now?
Yeah, and that is a tough question. And actually, this kind of brings me back to a bit of some of the things that like I study in like sports psychology in a way. A big thing that they do nowadays is like they try to make sure, so like say like athletic identity is a big thing. So I identify as an athlete. I'm just an athlete. If I'm performing bad, then I'm just a bad person. Like in a lot of maybe sometimes athletes' minds, if they're not doing well, then what am I? Whereas I think the approach for like some of those people these days is like to make sure they're studying something, they have something on the side. I'm probably a bad example of this because I'm very one-track minded.
But you're also very young, and you still got your whole life ahead of you.
Yeah, I have other things that I do enjoy. Like I enjoy music, and I used to play a bit of, I still do sometimes play a bit of guitar and stuff like that. I have other passions that I can go back to, like after jiu-jitsu. And just being in the gym and strength training and helping people out, coaching, all that kind of stuff. But it is kind of difficult to like achieve what you're going to achieve and then go like, what am I supposed to do after this? But I think it's to prepare yourself for that as well. Like I know a guy in Kilkenny who his name's Mark Stable. He's like a kettlebell I think he's European medalist. He's coached loads of like world champions. Really good friend of mine, and he would tell me about like he'd coach people to like amateur world titles, and he just said to them like, whether you win or lose, like, you know, nothing's really gonna like change. Like, you're still gonna
There's
have
more
to go to
to
work.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're still gonna have to. You're probably not gonna like make like this is like paraphrasing, of course, but like your life's not gonna be completely changed just because you won a world title. You're still gonna be the same person. You're still gonna have to like work. You know, you're still you, whether you win or lose. You know, so I think that's just important. It doesn't have to be like, even if you put a lot of effort into something, it doesn't have to be your life. As in, like, if I go to the Worlds and I have a bad performance, I still enjoy the work I put in. I still enjoy, it's essentially what you're saying, like enjoying the process. It can still be like a worthwhile experience, even if the outcome wasn't what I want. But I can't say personally from like winning the world title because I haven't done it yet, but we'll see. That's my mental thought on it anyway.
And also, like, no one gives a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's the brutal reality. Is like, you could walk down the street with a gold medal around your neck, and no one gives a fuck.
It's funny. Sometimes we're at like the Europeans. We do them like every year over in Rome, and we be on the train, and some people have like won a European medal, and they'll be on the train with the medal on, and I'll just be there like,
No one cares.
No,
Yeah.
like, I'm like, fair play, but like,
It's
yeah.
but, like, and that's why as cliche as it sounds, right? It's about the journey, not the destination. Because
Yeah.
you reach the destination and you realize, like, fuck. And for me, like, I think that turning point in my life was the moment when. So a few years ago, I decided to sell everything I had, buy a beat up old Land Rover Defender, and travel across the world in it. Without a destination, it was just head east, see what happens. And in the beginning, it's very exciting because it's new, but it very slowly becomes your everyday life.
Yes.
You wake up, you make breakfast, you pack up camp, you put the tent away, you get into your car, you drive on to the next destination. You might do something along the way, you might meet some people, eat something. You never know what's going to happen, which is a great thing. But it just becomes your everyday life.
Yes.
And then, because also there's no destination, like, you don't know when it's going to be finished. And there was that day when it was a pivotal moment, because it was the day when we had decided to turn around and come home. And so for the first time in a long time, instead of heading east, now you're heading back west.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit, that was the destination. But meanwhile, I didn't enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Like, I might have enjoyed a moment here and there, but it was always looking ahead
Yeah.
and looking forward to the future without being present in the now.
Yes.
And like, that is something I struggle with every day. Is it's very, like, I have to be very mindful to be present, but very often I'm either worrying about the future or being hard on myself or thinking about the past.
Yeah.
None of which have any relevance to
No.
today.
100%. And I think that's not just like, that's a struggle for a lot of people. And that's why I think from time to time you just got to, like, you know, just be in the now and just appreciate where you are. Like, when we were in B team, like, there was a few times where I was literally just there on the mats, and I was just like,
Holy shit, this is real.
yeah, I'm being taught by like Nicky Rod now. This is really cool.
Yeah.
You know, I would not have envisioned like 14 years ago that, especially being like from a small town and jiu-jitsu was barely even a thing back then, that I'd be going over to Texas and being taught by some of the best people in the world. I was like, that's insane. And then of course you get into your routine, and like then it feels, as you say, a bit normal again.
Yeah.
But I think as long as you have time to time, like just sit and be in the now and go like, oh yeah, I appreciate this. Even if you don't feel appreciative of it, I feel like even just saying in your head, I appreciate this, helps. At least I feel for me, because I can relate to you, because I'm always looking to what's ahead. I'm grinding to like my goals down the line and all that. So from time to time I'm like, oh, everything's like, you know, not good, like things aren't going well, so I'm not appreciating my actual, where I've come from and where I am now, you know.
I think for me, the biggest tool which has helped me achieve that is perspective. I think if you can learn the importance of acknowledging perspective in everything you do in life, it'll completely change the way how you view life. Because, like, and a practical example for this is a lot of people take everything they have in their everyday life for granted. They don't appreciate what they have. Let me tell you, it could be a lot worse.
100%,
Right?
yeah.
If you want to implement that into your life, spend one night a week sleeping in a tent on the beach. Well, let me tell you, the next night when you're home in your bed, you're gonna be like, "Oh fuck,
Yeah.
this bed is amazing," right? Spend two days away without having hot water and having a shower. The next day when you do have a shower, you're gonna be like, "Oh my god, I'm so thankful for my shower," and like learning that perspective and just being able, like, holy fuck, like even driving here today, you asked me what was the drive like, and like from there's two ways that I could answer that question, right? One is like, oh, it's such a fucking horrible day. It's raining, it's gloomy, the roads are dirty and the roads are bad. It's all back roads and like, oh fuck,
Yeah.
it's such a long drive. True. That was what it was. But also I could say, like, I'm so fucking happy I have a car and I'm alive today.
Yeah.
And even though it's raining, it's still a beautiful day because it has a different vibe to it, and I'm here. I'm thankful for it. So like the same situation, looking at it from two different sides completely changes how you view your life, right? Appreciate that you do have food in your fridge. Appreciate that you have a girlfriend who loves you. Appreciate that you have parents. Appreciate that you do have a gym to train in. And you have a body that works and that you can fucking bring to the
Yeah.
gym. Like, it could always be so much worse.
Oh, 100%. And I see that like a lot, kind of even sometimes in like the Irish Jiu-Jitsu scene, when you're like, a lot of people like are grinding for certain things, and I can relate. I want to get to certain places as well, but like sometimes you do need to appreciate the little things of like, I get to do what I love, or like I have a body that's capable of doing this stuff. Not everyone. Some people will never be able to experience this, like for whatever reason, and you just need to like sometimes just say to yourself like, I do have it good, you know, in compared to like a lot of people. Like it makes so much sense.
A lot of people complain about bullshit problems that aren't even real. Like,
Yeah.
one thing I can give an example on is like coffee, right? I love coffee. I used to have a coffee truck, and when I traveled through Turkey, you're not getting good coffee. Like, I fucking hate Turkish coffee. I hate the way they make it. I hate the taste of it. Grand. So anytime now that I go to a place and I have a nice cup of coffee, I'm like, fuck yeah. There was people sometimes that would come in and grab a coffee with me on Monday, and they'd be like, oh, that's not hot enough. I'd be like, okay, cool. They'd come back on Tuesday and they're like, so I know now, I'd make it hotter for them. And then they're like, oh, that's too hot.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, this is your problem in life? Like, because if this is your problem in life, your life is
good.
pretty fucking good.
Yeah, you have it good.
You have it really good.
Yeah.
And I think we live in a society, going back to what we said earlier, it's like, especially in Ireland, especially in the West, our lives are too good and we don't have enough hardship. We don't have enough real problems.
Yeah.
So what do? We look for fake problems. We look for shit to complain about.
Yeah, most problems are usually in your head, you know.
And they're not real, really, are they?
No, like exactly.
What is your biggest fear?
Biggest fear. I suppose I probably delved into a little bit earlier, but like I'd be very afraid if in like 15 years I was the same person I am today.
I can relate to that.
Yeah. And I'd be very afraid if like now I was the same person I was at 18.
I think that's my biggest fear also.
Yeah.
To live a life not lived.
Yeah, oh, 100%.
To be on my deathbed and oh fuck,
Have
I
loads of
wasted
regrets. Yeah. That's why I've like made the choice to pursue like martial arts, because I was like, I sometimes feel like the Irish mentality, it's always like, sure, I could have done that if I tried, but like I feel like if I was, I don't know, 60 and said, oh, I could have been this if I tried, but then I didn't do it, or I didn't know, like even if I don't achieve the things I want to achieve,
At least you tried.
at least I tried, I gave it a go. I know where I was, and I'm okay with that as long as I gave it my all, and I can live with that.
Are you a religious person?
I I suppose I was like raised Catholic, but I wouldn't be.
Not by choice.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I wouldn't be overly religious, to be honest. I do like the idea of like God as in like someone you can like confide in and is non-judgmental, and it's someone you can like, if it makes sense to you. Because like the problem is sometimes, even if we go talk to people we're close to, there's always going to be like, they'll always have some thoughts on what you're saying.
Judgment.
Yeah, judgment in some way, you know. Whereas like if it's something that like comforts you to go like, okay, this is someone I talk to and confide in, and I know they're not going to judge me in any kind of way, then like I'm all for that. I wouldn't be in like mass often, but you know.
But you believe in something higher than yourself.
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, religion. I think religion is itself is an excuse for people to do shitty things and blame it on something else.
Yes.
But I think faith is a different thing.
Yeah.
And you don't need to be religious in order to believe in something bigger, whether you want to call it God or the universe or a higher power. Personally, I have a lot more respect and trust in people that are religious or that do believe in something, because they almost go through life knowing that someone is watching.
Yes.
Right? And like, I heard someone say this once, like, never do business with someone who's not religious, because they're gonna fuck you over when no one's watching.
Yeah.
But if they fear that God is watching, even if they're in a dark room by themselves, they're not gonna do it.
No, that's true. And I think belief is a big part of that. Like when we think of like even like having like, I don't know, morals and ethics, if you really believe in it, then that is like in a way your belief or your faith, you know. Even if you don't believe in like God or like some higher power, like I feel like it is important. If you believe in nothing, then like you're going to probably do bad things, because like there's no consequences, and you know you don't buy into this being like a good person, or like, which I think it is important. Like you need to like believe in like, whether it be like some people believe in God, or whether you just believe in like, okay, I have these, like I have ones myself. I'm like, okay, this is what I want to be as a person. This is what I'm non-negotiable. Like I can never do this. You know, it's you set yourself to like a standard. You know, as a person.
Hold yourself accountable.
Yeah, you have to. Like I think the problem is a lot of people are lost and they don't have anything like that sometimes to, you know, believe in. So when you're like that, like you're gonna do anything. Like you'd be liable to do anything because you just don't care. You know, I feel like these days people are like afraid to like care about things, you know, or care about like values or beliefs, because it's easier just to not.
It is easier.
Yeah. I think.
And it is easier to go through life with no direction. Like it is, yeah. But like I feel sorry for those people.
Yeah.
Because like I said, you're gonna be on your deathbed in a few years, or whatever amount of time, years time, and you're probably gonna go, "Fuck, I wasted that."
Yeah.
And maybe you do get a second shot. I don't know. No one knows, right?
Yeah.
I like to believe that there are no do-overs. But I will contradict myself here, because there's a theory, and I do believe in it, that you get to do this life over and over and over and over again until you get it right. And
that would be nice.
yeah, but to some people, you see, that sounds like a nightmare.
I suppose, yeah.
Because a lot of people's lives are horrible, right?
Yeah.
They like, look, there's a reason why people commit suicide, right? And that's another topic I don't want to get into, but like, it would explain why some people you might know of are just always getting lucky. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, why are you always getting lucky? Things are always going your way. And a huge part of that is your mindset and your attitude towards life. But perhaps a huge part of that is like, maybe you did a lot of good things in your previous life, and now you're being rewarded for it, and you're on a greater path than you were previously. Or perhaps the reason why you're getting so unlucky and your life is such a mess is because you did something fucking horrible in your previous life. Like, every action has a consequence. And everything we do, every action has a reaction. And no matter whether it's, like, if you do something bad, karma's real. Something bad is going to happen to you eventually. Might be in the next fucking 30 seconds. It might be in the next 5 years. And if you do something good, if you're a good person, if you treat others good, and if you put in the effort into whatever it is you do and you work hard, eventually it pays off.
I agree. I think it's important to, I think sometimes in your head, try to be a person that you would be proud of. You know? And I feel like a lot of that kind of comes under that. You know, if you can like look yourself in the mirror and go like, okay, I'm happy with how I treat people. Like, no one's perfect. Like, we'll always get things wrong. Like,
of course, you make mistakes.
Yeah, that's it. As we were talking about failure, it's like a great teacher. But like, if you can look in the mirror and go like, okay, the people who are close to me, I was good to them. Look, I've made mistakes, but like, I've always been like, had their best interest and my best interest at heart. I don't want to, like, I didn't harm anyone, you know. And if you're can truly say that, then like, you have nothing to worry about in life. I think that's kind of helped me a little bit with like anxiety and stuff like that. I'm like, because when I was younger, I probably was a bit anxious and stuff like that. But after a while, I'm like, I don't care if someone perceives me as like odd or different. As long as I'm not harming anyone and I'm like being true to myself, like, then fuck them. You know?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I always say that. Do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting anyone else.
Yeah.
And like, I heard a good quote before: live your life like as if there's a TV crew following you around filming a documentary about your life.
I like that. That's a good one.
You know, like, and it's very easy to do good things and be a good person when there's people watching.
Yes. Yeah.
One of the things I hate the most is people that film themselves helping homeless people.
Oh yeah.
Like,
That's weird.
okay, why do you need the world to know that? Like, why don't you just help them and
Yeah.
just help them, like, without ever saying you help them. Just help them and fucking let life do its thing.
100%. Like, do you know, like, sometimes things come out about Keanu Reeves and he's like donated this amount to his cast and crew members and all that, but he never, like, it's never something that he's like publicly put out there. Someone's always like,
Right. Yep. Someone spills the beans.
Yeah, more so,
it.
like,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. If it's genuine, you don't need like validation for it. You know?
Like, one of the things I notice when I train is like, it's a lot easier for me to have a really good workout in a gym that is full of people, because like, it almost holds you accountable, because you're like, okay, maybe there's someone watching and you're their inspiration, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there's and I'm only speaking from my point of view, because that's how I see it. Like, I'll go into a gym and this was something I did from a very, very young age. I would look up to the guy that was doing the right thing. I would look up to the guy who was bigger, who was doing proper squats. I'm like, I want to learn how to squat like that. So now I'm like, okay, I think I'm in that position. So if there's a young kid watching me, I want to make sure that I'm a fucking good inspiration to him. If you go into an empty gym and there's no one in it, especially if you're feeling shit, it's hard to have a good workout.
Yeah. Accountability can be tough. When it's just you.
And that's where champions are made. It's when no one is watching.
Yeah.
And it's just you. Because it is just you putting in the work. It is just you on your own journey, and it is just you achieving your goals. And doesn't matter who you talk to, doesn't matter who's a part of your journey, whether it's your training partners, your coaches. It's your life, and only you can understand it.
Oh, 100%. And that's why I think we learned a little bit of this in sports psychology, having like intrinsic motivation. So like the extrinsic are like
money, fame.
Yeah, all that stuff. The intrinsic are like, at least for me, say if we're related to the weights, like, I didn't like weights when I first started. My coach Miles emphasized always doing them, and I'm glad he did, because I built a good routine, and eventually I got to the point where like, it's just part of what I do. I love doing squats. I love the feeling of like doing like 10, 12 squats, barely be able to get up the last rep, but like pushing through, kind of winning that kind of mental battle. Even though it's tough at the time, I'm like, I do get great kind of intrinsic satisfaction out of doing that.
Makes you feel good.
Yeah. And then like the extrinsic, maybe if I get a bit more jacked, that's always nice.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, squats are my favorite exercise.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, why? People hate squatting.
Yeah, people don't like it.
Maybe I just love difficult shit.
Yeah.
And like, you put in a good squat session, you're gonna feel good, and you can do anything after that.
That's it. And they're very, as far as training approach, they're very efficient as well. You go in and as long as you do squats, if you did just like a few really good sets of squats, that would do like a lot of your lower body stuff, you know.
Yeah, it's I would argue it's a full body exercise.
Yeah.
It requires a lot of core strength, stability, mobility, right? If
increases your mobility if you're doing the proper full range of motion, you know.
Yeah, which is rare.
I know,
You see a lot of people squat and you're like, what are you
squats.
doing? Yeah. What are you most happy about in life? What is the most important thing to you outside of jiu-jitsu?
I suppose just the people around me, like my family, my girlfriend, all my friends that I've made mostly through jiu-jitsu, but I do have a few like outside jiu-jitsu as well. But I think that's kind of the things that I really enjoy the most, you know. I'm not like one for like as I said, like big groups and stuff like that, but like I have people who I can like meet up with and
small setting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
Okay, yeah, that's a good answer. Listen, bro, thank you so much for coming on the show. We're going to wrap this up. I hope that we can do this in the future, and I wish you the best of success, best of luck and success in the Worlds in the next few weeks.
I appreciate it.
And I'm sure that the next time we sat down, there's going to be a gold medal wrapped around your neck.
Let's go.
Cheers, bro. Thank you.